So, good morning or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And look, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to watch this pre-IPO webinar from Nicolex. The company is targeting a listing on the ASX to advance a comprehensive drilling program to expand known sulfides at the Birringham Nickel Copper Project, located in the prolific Fraser and Birringham zone of the Albany-Fraser Belt in WA. Managing Director Matt Gorsey and Technical Director Oliver Cruiser will provide a 15-minute presentation, which will be followed by Q&A. If you have any questions for the presenters, please type in the Q&A window at the bottom of the screen. I'll now hand over to Matt Gorsey and Oliver Cruiser of Nicolex to provide the presentation. Over to you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks very much, Colin, and welcome to the presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Nicolex has been working feverishly on compiling and designing a program of exploration within the Albany-Fraser Belt, the prolific Albany-Fraser Belt, seeking nickel, and most recently, given the results of some of the companies in the region, also gold. But our primary focus is nickel. We have explored the Albany-Fraser Belt previously through a number of companies. Once we came across this opportunity at Birringham, we were certainly very keen to secure an opportunity and review the targets that we have and to design a comprehensive drilling program to test for Nova-type magmatic nickel copper deposits, and of course in the background start to understand exactly what type of gold system we have within the project area as well. So we'll just go to the next slide, Colin. Or Alex, next slide. Thanks. So effectively, we're building nickel sulfide assets in Western Australia. The company, sorry, just go back a slide. Thanks. So we're building a nickel sulfide exploration company in Western Australia. Clearly, we know that WA leads the world in nickel sulfide deposits. Our immediate focus is the Birringham project in the Albany-Fraser Belt. We've got 4 high priority targets to drill test and another 16 priority targets to progress. Pursuant to prospectus, we'll be raising $5 million or a minimum of $5 million to advance our drilling program across what are known nickel sulfide mineralisation, and as well as ground EM surveys to expand our known conductors. So the board are of the strong belief that the potential IPO is a strong one, represents certainly for prospective shareholders real strong value over long term for a number of reasons. Primarily, it's a strong market fundamentals in the steel and the new energy sector being the sectors that nickel feeds into. We know in China that due to the COVID-19 stimulus package, there's another 50-odd steel mills being built, and the demand profile has really exceeded expectations from not only iron ore, but clearly that flows into nickel. And then, of course, the emergence of the new energy sector with the lithium-ion batteries, and we know that nickel's the most used metal within a lithium-ion battery. So those two sectors are really driving the demand profile of nickel, and we've seen the price appreciate on the back of that. We do have a comprehensive drilling program ready to go. Our tenements are granted. We have no native title, no partial leases. So 4 high priority targets there with a drill program designed, and upon the potential of listing the company on the ASX, then we'll be coming out of the gates with a comprehensive drilling program. We've got a really good pipeline of other opportunities as well, not to be a one-trick pony, looking at a whole range of opportunities across WA with our proprietary nickel sulfide prospectivity database, and of course our networks in the sector, having worked in the sector for 20 odd years. Again, a highly experienced corporate technical team. Really fortunate to get our chairman Jonathan Downs on board. Jono is a really well-known mining executive, obviously through the industry. Has been heavily involved in nickel all over the years, and is a director of a number of other companies, Ironbark, Galena, and Kaiser Reef. Unfortunately, we've all been in this situation before and had success in terms of dealing with major mining companies and major funds, in particular in this space, Resource Capital Funds, a $5.5 billion private equity company, which both Ollie, our technical director, and I have done deals with before, and of course Glencore, one of the world's, if not the world's biggest trader, heavily involved in nickel as well. Next slide, thanks, Colin. So I think we've all seen the maps and the diagrams of the demand profile of nickel coming into 2025, where there's an expectation, clearly with respect to electric vehicles and the build out of various lithium-ion factories and then hence batteries. The demand profile for nickel's really been given a bit of a rocket, if you like, from this sector. It is projected to rise 15-fold by 2025, and keeping in mind it's only 4 years away. And most of this data, all of this data, was pulled from JP Morgan's, and we should always know that they're usually on the money with their expectations. And this doesn't account for the steel sector. This is just purely the new energy sector. Next slide. As always, there's a supply problem when this happens, and Goldman Sachs have put together this slide, which is really looking at 3 scenarios with respect to the nickel supply issue. One is the old balanced forecast, which was to an extent pre the new energy sector demanding their slice of the pie of nickel. There's a balanced or a new balanced forecast, which is a medium forecast of supply going into deficit around 2022. And then, of course, there's a hyper adoption scenario where the adoption of lithium-ion batteries and certainly electric vehicles meets expectations, which again pushes into the supply side, of which we can see a deficit continues to drop beyond 2025. So it's really looking like a bit of a perfect storm in terms of demand really increasing through steel and new energy, and then of course supply problems with respect to the bans of Indonesian exports of nickel. A lot of projects taking their time to come online, and so we feel it's an ideal time for an exploration and potential discovery of a nickel sulfide deposit. Next slide, thanks. So just a quick rundown on the team. I spoke about John O'Downs before, our non-executive chairman, 25 years experience in the mining sector in primarily Western Australia across nickel, gold, base metals, director of a number of well-known companies in Western Australia. John is a fantastic geologist, let alone a good chairman and good director of public listed companies in the ASX. Myself, I've got 20 odd years experience in mining exploration in Western Australia and overseas. With respect to nickel, I've listed 2 companies in the Albany-Fraser belt, one of them smack bang in the middle of the Fraser Range, pre the discovery of Nova. So know the belt really well, really excited about the belt, and have had some reasonable success transacting with major funds and companies over the years. Dr. Ollie Cruiser, who's sitting next to me, and we'll jump on in a second, a really well-known corporate geoscientist, recognised project generator. Ollie and I put together this package and the strategy and the business plan for the company moving forward. And again, it's got a lot of experience in gold and base metals as well. The board's rounded out by Dr. Chris Butera, again, a really well-respected and experienced corporate geologist. Chris is based over in Melbourne, certainly be coming over when he can to get on the ground to help design and implement our drilling program. That's really Chris's bread and butter, and we are looking forward to that. And of course, Tony Donaghy's our nickel consultant, an absolutely internationally recognised expert in magmatic nickel copper deposits, which is clearly what our primary focus is. And so Tony's also our independent geologist for our prospectus, which you'll be able to get a hold of very soon. Next one, thanks, Colin. So this is our project area. The Albany-Fraser belt stretches clearly from the Trilogy deposit down in the southwest all the way up to the Tropicana deposit. There's 3 dead set world-class deposits within the belt. Nova Bollinger, I think we're all aware that when that was discovered, it really turned this entire belt on its head, knowing that it's now highly prospective for magmatic nickel copper deposits. Since then, there's been an enormous amount of exploration across that belt and a number of discoveries. The Silver Knight deposit, the Andromeda deposit, and the Mawson's deposit or discoveries, which are all evolving in front of our eyes. And there's certainly a lot of companies keeping really busy programs with rigs running around the clock and EM crews running around the clock. There's no shortage of interest in this belt, which is great for us. One thing I will say about the Albany-Fraser belt, which is really important, it is an emerging belt. I believe it's a young belt. Only 10 years ago, if that, was Nova discovered. And of course, since then, there's only been 0.3 million tonnes of nickel discovered over 10 years. You compare this to its mirror image belt in Canada, being the Thomson's nickel belt. It's 25 to 30 years old, that belt, in terms of the work that's been done and the money being invested into exploration work. And, that's up to 2.7 million tonnes nickel. So we are in still very early stages with the Albany-Fraser belt. And, we're really fortunate to have secured, and one of the very few juniors and one of the very few independent companies outside of IGO and the Creasy Group and Anglo, to have secured a huge amount of ground to explore our project. Obviously, the majors are very active here. Rio, BHP, FMG, Anglo, IGO are pretty much blanketed, not only within our belt, but also just outside of our belt. And that's always a good sign, knowing that there's always pretty significant intellectual property within those companies to target certain areas. Next one, thanks, Colin. So this is an overview of our project area, primarily the Birrinut project. There's 6 granted tenements here, as I mentioned before. They're drill ready. There's no native title, no pastoral leases. We're booking rigs and EM crews as we speak to get on the ground post our listing. Really good access from Kalgoorlie out to the world-class gold mine in Tropicana. That's a dual carriage highway, so it is fantastic access. And then about 10 kilometres through existing tracks through the site to get to our key targets. We just had a drone survey flown over there, and we've got all the data back, and the tracks still look in reasonable shape, so we don't expect any issues in terms of getting access. One thing we do have is a very data-rich project. There's been more than $10 million expended or invested in exploration over the years within this project area, primarily by Anglo, our neighbour who's operating the Tropicana gold mine, who is seeking primarily gold. And of course, because our focus is nickel, we've been able to uncover a number of new targets that were missed by Anglo, given that they were focused purely on gold. Hence the reason why we're really keen to test some of those conductors, which are sitting pretty, up to about 20 of them within the target area. And Alex or Colin, if you just want to grab the mouse and just point it around, the Tropicana gold mine, for those that don't know, is a 7 to 8 million ounce gold deposit at 2 to 3 grams per tonne, an absolute world-class deposit. Clearly one of the greater gold discoveries in Western Australia's recent history. And there's a gold trend emerging within this area. You can see the blue arrow to the top right. Only 2-3 weeks ago, there was a new discovery made by a company called Currawine, which hit some 35 metres at 3 to 4 grams per tonne, an unquestionable discovery hole. And again, that's only 20 to 30 k's to the north of our tenements. But within our area, it looks as though that's a pretty significant underexplored gold trend. And of course, having a junior make a regional discovery, as Currawine did, gives us enormous confidence that the gold prospectivity within our projects hasn't been appropriately explored. And so we're absolutely dead keen to invest some money in our gold exploration strategy as well. And for those who aren't aware, upon that discovery hole, there was something in the order of $16 million of stock traded through that company, which is extraordinary for a junior explorer, and just goes to show that there's always going to be interest in gold, and it's going to come from everywhere. So we're really excited about the gold potential. Just go to the next slide if you don't mind. Look, I think just being wary of time, we might just go to the next slide again, if you don't mind, Colin. So this is the main target, main nickel target within the Birrinut project. It's called the Fire Dragon target. You can see on the slide on the right, there's actually 3 conductors here. There's the Fire Dragon conductor, which is the red boxes you see in the middle. There's the Fire Dragon North conductor, which we've just delineated, and then there's the Fire Dragon East, which is just under the video boxes you can see. Within the green holes, you can see that we've already designed a drilling program. Within the red holes, you can see we've already designed a drilling program to test some of these conductors. We're not going in there blind. These have been really well defined and modelled conductors that also have some historic intersections of massive sulfides, being pentlandite for nickel and chalcopyrite for copper. So we know that there is massive sulfide mineralisation here, and of course we're really keen to diamond drill and test the width and breadth of the massive sulfides within these conductors. So that's going to keep us very, very busy. Keep in mind, this is just one conductor of 20 across the entire project area. So there'll be a regular and often run program of EM and drilling through the project area over the next 12 to 24 months. Next slide, thanks. You will go to the next slide. Again, just a photo on the right of the massive sulfides in rock chips, which were previously discovered from only 2 holes into Fire Dragon. So 2 holes over such a large conductor is clearly not enough to have appropriately tested the target. But clearly within one of those 2 holes, there was chalcopyrite and pentlandite, which gives you confidence that there's more than smoke here. There's certainly a bit of fire. So we're really keen to replicate and to expand the known massive sulfides within this particular target. Next one, thanks, Colin. So this is our gold target. It's called the Black Dragon target. It's about, as we know, 30 kilometres along strike from Tropicana, world-class gold deposit. Now that we know that there's a junior to the northeast, hitting gold discovery holes, it's certainly grabbed our attention to invest some money in our gold trend. We will release a little bit more information on this once we're listed, but we effectively have a 9 by 3 kilometre gold in soil anomaly to work through, to do some structural analysis on, and to plan a drilling program in due course. But it seems that we're pretty confident that this is an emerging gold trend, which was not appropriately explored by the previous owners in Anglo, who dropped some of the ground to really ramp up a lot of their exploration, regional exploration and near mine exploration at Tropicana. So they pulled their teams, dropped the ground, as you probably would, to develop Tropicana. So we've been left with an enormous opportunity. And of course, as the other juniors are making discoveries nearby, then we're champing at the bit to get stuck into that gold target. I'll just go to the next one. Thanks, Colin. So look, just a quick summary. We're building nickel sulfide assets and capabilities in what is undoubtedly a high growth market in the nickel space, with its exposure to steel and new energy. All of our projects are located in the truly world-class Albany-Fraser Belt. Our primary investment opportunities, very strong market fundamentals, comprehensive drill-ready program planned. We'll, as I said, come out of the gates drilling and doing EM surveys upon IPO. So we're really excited about that. We've got a pipeline of other opportunities across Western Australia that we're either currently evaluating or looking to move on. Highly experienced corporate and technical team in the base metal space, having transacted with a number of major funds and mining companies, and of course a highly experienced technical team in terms of Ollie Cruiser, our technical director, Chris Buteri, our exploration director, and of course Tony Donaghy is an undisputed world expert in nickel copper magmatic deposits. Importantly, it looks as though we're going to be a well valued IPO. We'll have a market cap of circa 10 million, an EV of about 5. Some of our peers are running around with EVs of 20 to 30 mil, and of course we've certainly got targets ready to drill that have known well-defined conductors, known massive sulfide mineralisation, and as an aside, we've got what we believe at this point in time until further work is an enormous gold opportunity. So thanks very much for your time. And if there's any questions, I'll hand over to you, Colin, and you can field them.
Great, thanks, Matt. So just remember, if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. And Matt, we've just got a couple of questions that have come through. One is around making discoveries in the Albany-Fraser belt. And it can be quite difficult as they are typically blind deposits and at depth. Could you explain the steps involved for Nickel X to make a discovery?
Yeah, sure. I mean, clearly looking for any mineralisation and or deposit undercover requires a pretty comprehensive geophysics program. We're fortunate that Birringham has already had pretty significant geophysics programs historically in terms of airborne EM, ground EM, downhole EM, and of course, pretty significant gravity survey. So a lot of that work has actually been done to date. So it's not like we're starting with a blanket project with none of that data. As I said, about $10 million worth of money's been spent on the project area. So we're in the process of just refining conductors as opposed to trying to find conductors. Now that's an enormous step in the right direction. And then of course, post that, there's clearly an ability to get on the ground and start drilling straight away rather than having to go through the regulatory process, given that there's no native title and pastoral leases. So post the defining it, or definition, if you like, of a conductor, which we've got 20, then there's clearly going to be a need to drill test those conductors, and to do so from possibly a number of different angles in terms of drilling, dependent on the geometry and the angle of the conductor. So from where we are, a lot of that work's been done, and we're able to just go straight into diamond drilling.
Great. And we've got a question here around the nickel price. Do you believe growth in nickel price is sustainable?
Yeah, so look, just going back to the supply-demand scenario, which has been really well documented, I think, by JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, then you can see there's undoubtedly a supply issue. The Indonesian bans, which have been disputed by Indonesia, looks as though they're going to stay in place for some time. Now that takes a fairly large amount of product off the market. We know that there's quite a few projects which are slated to come on stream, but as always, there's a 2, 3, 4 year delay in terms of getting to nameplate production. So I can't see any major nickel deposits that are coming into production that would fill that gap. That's a supply situation, which I think is as Goldman Sachs rightly said, is dipping. And then the demand story is extraordinary. There's hardly any commodity globally which is well exposed to two biggest sectors in the world, being the steel sector and the new energy sector. And as we know, the adoption of EVs is increasing significantly. Companies like VW and Ford are going 100% all in electric. The demand for lithium-ion batteries and lithium and battery storage is extraordinary. So that's just added to what is already a very buoyant steel sector. And so given that, as would always be the case, when there's disequilibrium, pretty significant disequilibrium in the supply-demand scenario, then you're almost certainly going to get price appreciation. And we've seen that already over the last number of years. And I implore anyone to really just keep an eye on the LME nickel price graph over the last 6 months and last 12 months, and it's almost absolutely heading in a northeasterly direction.
And we've just got time, I guess, for one last question. So why has the Birringham project remained underexplored, in your view, despite its great location?
Yeah, sure. So the previous owner and the vendor of the project and the company that will be one of our largest shareholders, VRX, they effectively moved into mining of silica. They felt there was an enormous opportunity to develop and mine their silica deposits, which they held around the sort of the Perth Basin They are going through environmental approval at the moment, and will be mining and exporting silica over the next sort of 6 months. So their transition to being a base metal explorer, base metal gold explorer in the Fraser Range, to being a silica miner was one that the market really liked, to be honest, and that's great for them. But what it did is left us with an opportunity to pick up to an extent where they left off, given that it was non-core, and put our best foot forward and our best minds, and certainly our best efforts to really explore this project intensely, while having a really strong supportive major shareholder in VRX. So there's a number of reasons why it's underexplored, but over the last 2 to 3 years, that's the primary reason. The vendor has effectively moved into being a silica mining company. We have really strong relationships, previous relationships with VRX Silica, just through our networks, and we really did a strong evaluation over it, put it through a number of different independent geologists to get their views, and certainly pulled Tony Donaghy in to get his view, and we're all of the opinion, and this is it's completely open to a discovery, and what is absolutely an advanced exploration play. So we're really excited about it.
Great. Look, and we've just got one more that's come through. So does the company have a plan B, I guess, if it is unable to locate nickel at Birrinut?
So there's clearly 2 commodities at Birrinut, being nickel and gold. But one of the parts of the company, or one of the important parts of the company, is the fact that a lot of our work has been based on a proprietary nickel sulfide prospectivity database, which we as a team developed some years ago, that we're really keen to build on, to start to build up project opportunities in well, not only in the Fraser Range if they become available, but also in other districts such as the Forrestania district or the Leinster district, the Musgraves, the Southwest Yilgarn. So once we've got through it, at the very least 12 to possibly even 24 months of drilling and EM surveys at Fraser Range, in the background we're always keeping our eye open for new opportunities, and that may well be either pegging opportunities or M&A opportunities. So we've always got a 3-pronged attack: exploration, development, and acquisitions, and that keeps any company really busy. But the immediate focus absolutely is the Birrinut project, with some outstanding drill-ready targets, and everyone loves a nickel sulfide discovery, as we quite rightly know. We've seen what's happened to Chalice, and we saw what happened to Sirius. These are massive discoveries and massive market movers. So, and we think we're really well positioned to potentially make a discovery and reward our shareholders.
Great. Well, Matt, that's a great note to finish on. I think we'll wrap it up there, as there's no further questions coming through. Look, I really appreciate your time today, Matt, and listening to the Nickel X story. It's certainly going to be a busy 2021 ahead for the company. So look, I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks very much, Colin, and thanks, guys. And yeah, feel free to log on to our website as well, where you can register your interest. That's at www.nickelxlimited.com.au, and you can register your interest for the potential of becoming a shareholder when we release the prospectus in 2 to 3 weeks' time.
Great, thanks. And thank you to all the attendees for taking time to listen to the Nickel X story today. And have a great day. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.